This week in disc golf saw another young talent, Antila, get his first win in the States with an exciting finish. Own Not Tatar dominates with a record-setting performance. Ulibarri and Brodie hit on tee pads. Day one of USWDGC is in the books, and so much more. What's going on, all you disc-generates? We are still in Austin, and it's me, Swiss Cheese, with the disc golf world. You guys already know I'm the one with all the holes in his game, and you're watching This Week in Disc Golf, where we cover all things disc golf from the past week. Jefferson, the minivan, and myself are currently at the Austin Beer Works as USWDGC's Day 1 is in effect. Thanks everyone for taking the time to watch, and especially to those of you who have subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to do so. It's the easiest way to help build the channel to support us along the tour. While you're at it, go check out Jefferson and I hang with the Barely Stable crew over on their channel. We talk Austin Disc Golf, Pro Tour, and a little bit of our own tour series. And at the very least, you can look at how silly Jefferson looks with sunglasses indoors. And last but not least, while you're at it, check out all our other content, as we are one of the few to bring all the action from the road and tour stops to you. Like all the other prior stops this season, the Open at Austin was action-packed, featuring 3 cards of action with tight battles and a big finish, while showcasing some of the youngest talent and biggest names in the game. The DGPT could not have scripted the start of this season, nor this event any better. The Open in Austin, in all honesty, needed a refresh after being heavily criticized for being unprepared, unorganized, and easily the most forgotten course on tour last season. Sure, we all remember how Gannon looked about his country as Mr. Sunshine on my goddamn shoulders, John Denver, with a Stenson hat trophy on, but nothing really else seared in our memory of the event. Can you remember anything? I'll wait. Didn't think so. Austin being as large as it is, and the largest metropolitan stop on tour with the great disc golf scene, there was no way the DGPT wouldn't return or invest in staying, as it is a Pro Tour owned event. We still don't really know what that means, but with a new sponsor, the team went to work, creating an entirely new course by redesigning nearly every hole, cutting into the woods to create a course that was not only scoreable at points, especially on the front holes, only to enter the woods with tight gaps, plenty of guardians that could kick discs into dangerous OB. Descriptions that are not often associated to a ball golf course. The weather would be a concern for much of the weekend, as Day 1 saw windy conditions with strong gusts. Didn't hinder much of the action, however, as Corey Ellis and Andrew Marweed each put together 10 under rounds. Kelvin Heimberg, playing with an injury and without a forehand, was only 8 strokes off the leaders, with other notable names in AB, Nicholas Antila, and Matty O not far off behind. Day 2, with the best conditions of the weekend, saw the best in the game attacking the course, resulting in the lowest scoring over the weekend. Had 11 players with double-digit unders on the day and saw a bunch of movement on the leaderboard. Gannon burst 14 under with a bogey and eagle was the strongest performance in the hot round of the tournament. The performance pushed Gannon up 23 spots into second place behind Antila, who put together a 12 under round himself, giving him a 2-stroke lead heading into the final day. Cole Redolin moved up 31 spots, also finished the day just outside the top 10 with a 12 under himself, while Kyle Klein's 11 under moved him tied for 9th place. The final looked as though it would feature another battle between Gannon and Antila, who are now teammates, yet with a top 10 with some of the biggest names on tour still in contention. The final day saw wet conditions, a 2-hour rain delay, and the DGPT choosing to remove 3 holes from play and score them as par, just to squeeze in a tournament finish. A first time on tour, which had the disc golfers returning to the course with limited holes to score and pressing the action with 6 of the biggest names and best in the game talents all in contention, resulting in a fury of shots on coverage, fast fidget fingers following along on PDGA Live, heart-pounding action with maybe some presumptive commentating. Cole Redolin came out hot, going 6 down through the first 5 holes, with an eagle while he was on 3rd chase card. Kyle on the same card started off 3 down on the first 3 holes also, while on chase card, AB went 5 down on the front 5 with an eagle of his own, and cardmate Vinny went 4 down in that span also. As for the Gannon and Antila feature, fans saw some missed putts and opportunities. Both would be only 1 down through 6 after a double bogey by Antila and a bogey by Gannon, opening the doors for all the Kyle Klein love as he went on a 6-hole stretch that separated him from the field, going 7 under through holes 6 through 11, with a huge statement eagle on that 11 that actually pushed him into the lead. He would birdie 2 of the remaining holes, and though commentators Philo and Ian were ready to crown him, the rest of the contenders and people watching were screaming at the coverage in their best Dennis Green impersonations. Vinny, AB, and Corey Ellis were in striking distance, but with the exception to Vinny, faltered late and fell off contention. Vinny tied Klein with 18 left to play, needing par to push a playoff and a birdie to take the lead outright. He would go OB on the first throw, and after his up, he had an outside circle putt with poor footing to save par and push a tie. But ultimately, he hit the basket low, giving him a solo third place and having Klein only sweating a remaining player who, in all honesty, has always been the bridesmaid and never the bride, with several second-place finishes in Nicholas Antala, who had an absolute huge eagle on 11, putting him down only 2 strokes with 4 holes remaining, 2 of which landed in the top 5 most difficult holes on the course, and the 2 finishing holes of the tournament. He birdied the next hole on 13, had an easy C1 birdie look a mere 14 feet away for what would give him a tie for the lead, only for him to hit band in one of the worst misses at the worst opportune time. Not as repetitive as AB's European Open Island throws, but just as deflating. A moment that would have most curl under pressure and looking for the fastest exit possible. Instead, the young Finnish player needing a birdie to tie 2 to win on the 3rd and 4th most difficult holes on the weekend, with most of the gallery on 18 choosing to follow the early action, we waited together, sharing each other's live to fill the crowd in. His drive in 17 put him in circle 2, 46 feet away from a birdie. With unshakable confidence, he buries the putt to tie with only a single hole to play as darkness creeps in. A fairway hit and an approach to a circle's edge putt, this time from 35 feet away. With victory a putt away, the short-statured young pro stood tall in the moment and ended the event by hitting yet another big putt, this one for the first win in the U.S. The stoic player let out the most emotion we have seen from the young player, pumping his fist and leaping into the arms of friends and European counterparts, becoming the first Finnish player to win the U.S. and cueing every bad pun in disc golf for the next 3 days. The victory would be felt and celebrated overseas as it becomes a big moment for disc golf. Kyle and Gannon joined in the celebrations as emotions ran high once that hat was placed atop his head.
Beth at 69.
I just told myself, you just got to will this one in there. Whatever you have, just will it in there.
This man is unbelievable. This is what athletes live for. This is the moment.
Now for some FBO action. Most who were watching the weekend expected Kristin Tattar to dominate the entire FBO on her way to a victory at yet another tour stop in preparation for her first major victory of the season at this year's USWDGC. No different than every other event that she has attended. Fans witnessed a dominating and record-setting performance than none other than Owen Scoggins. Yes, that Owen with her ponytail and hat looks like she could fit into those orthopedic sketchers with most mall walkers at 9 a.m., but then lets her hair down and parties harder than players half her age. Her complete dismantling of this course in her own words by slapping the competition in the face with a distance driver forehands in one of the most dominating victories in the FBO and halting Tattar as the greatest ever, at least for just a brief moment, even if her day one didn't reflect it. After the finish of day one, Kat Mertsch found herself atop the leaderboard with a 7 under. She would go on and birdie the first 3 holes and went 4 down through the first 5 holes. Stayed clean on the hardest hole of the day, averaging over par for the round, and really allowed the putter to do the work. She was a stroke ahead of Henna Bloomers and 2 above Tattar, who still garnered the most of the attention at that time. Owen was on chase card, only 3 down, but the best conditions ahead of her yet. Day 2 would be all Owen, scoring the 5th highest rated round in FBO history at 10.55 rated 13 under round that gave her a 2-stroke lead on the entire field. The day was 5 strokes better than the closest competitor, which she would only follow that up with the 13th highest rated round at 10.42 rated 10 under on the final day. Not even the 2-hour weather delay slowed her down or dampened her spirits. In fact, the only thing that beat her all weekend was hole 10, which she bogeyed all 3 days. The history doesn't just stop there, however. Her 11-stroke victory over you-know-who, the current greatest FBO player today, was the highest victory since 2021, and also averaged 10.29 over the entire tournament, which is the highest average rating ever at an FBO leader major event. Yes, little Owen, All 5'3" of her stands atop all the other great FPO players in the game. Answer the call of every fan and commentator looking for someone to challenge Tatar. Did I tell you that she was also recovering from a poison ivy injury on her throwing arm from Waco also? Tatar did see some struggles throughout the tournament, but was able to finally put together a solid round on the final day, moving into second place for the tournament. She would go on to score an 8-under round on the final day. That score was better than her day 1 and day 2 combined, and most importantly, the final round was bogey-free. It was revealed this week during the USWDGC presser that Tatar has been dealing with an injury of her own during the weekend, which has fans of her hoping it doesn't affect her USWDGC chances. To round out the podium, Missy Gannon took advantage of Kat Murch's nosedive of a round. Kat put together a disappointing 6-over final day. Missy's 2-under round would be enough to hold off both Natalie Ryan and Henna Blumroos for a third-place finish, her second on the season. Over on the tour life, Ulibarri and Brodie hit on the tee pads and conditions of the tournament at the Open at Austin. Uli was on the same card as Conrad when he dumped over the tee pad on his drive of 11. If you've seen the video, yours truly got that cut, and the cause of some choice Conrad swears. If you missed that one, there was also a shot of Simon slipping on the tee and Hammis calling them out in a post also. Uli went in on how the pads dipped in the rain and how temporary tee pads need to be resolved. And trust me, the topic was discussed by many pros on numerous cards. It was all of just last week I called for standardized tee pads, and maybe I was just a little too ambitious. How about we just begin with no temporary tee pads to start? I don't care about how much room there is for spectating, vending, and such. If you cannot install some level of permanent tee pads, it should disqualify the location from being a tour stop, as player safety above all should be paramount over dollars and location. You just can't go and have player checks to ensure players are in their cars during a weather delay for 2 hours and then continue to roll out temporary tee pads stop after stop. But let's move into some brighter news. The USWDGC, the first major of the year, kicked off at Sprinkle, the recently redesigned Austin course. The day started with some wet conditions. Rebecca Cox continues her stretch of starting tournament strong, finishing early with a 6-under. Could not have been more of a tale of two halves. Rebecca finished the front 9 even, recording 2 birdies and 2 bogeys, and then heading into the back half that only had the 5 most difficult holes of the entire course statistically on the day, and 7 of the 9 holes trending over par. Rebecca's response was to go 6 down on the back half, the best score on the back half for the day, resulting in her taking the early top spot on the day. Those waiting for Tatar news are gonna still have to wait. Missy Gannon kicked off her major in epic fashion, canning a 40-foot birdie putt on hole 1, kicking off a stretch of hot play that would finish with being 7 under on the front half after hitting 5 straight birdies. Missy would cool off on the back, scoring par on the more difficult holes. She would only register a single birdie and a bogey and finish even on the back for a 7-under round and lead after day 1. And guys, while I was there, day 1 felt like one of those Missy Woods performance wins like Ledgestone last year. She certainly can keep herself in fairways and is one of the best putters in the game. Valerie Mandujano might have some contention though. She looks strong in her home state and off the tee. I'd love to throw some stats, but PDGA Live only has 24 of the 100 entrants listed with stats. Valerie maintained the lead at one point, but costly bogeys bookending her round dropped her into a tie for second place with Rebecca Cox. Those shaking in anticipation, finally for me to get to the Tatar major talk, your wait is no more, as she would tie with Saya Nand, Evelina Salonen, and Natalie Ryan at 3 under. Tatar scored as many birdies as all 3 competitors ahead of her, but had an up and down round due to 5 bogeys halting any momentum that she could garner. Tatar finds herself in chase card, but with 3 more days of action with an anticipated better weather forecast, should grow stronger as the event goes on. Now for some tournament quick hitters. Lexa Mandujano had to drop out again due to an injury. Haley King posted just how ridiculous it is to have a major with no caddy book 3 days before the event. You guys know they're only practicing out there on the course. It would be great to know just where, OB is. It seems like every year, Haley has to point out the inconsistencies that the ladies in the game continue to face year after year. Now for some quick hitters. Brian Schwebby Schwarberger got his 400th win of his career, an absolute stunner of an achievement. Chandler Kramer, shocking some, rejoins Lone Star along with Clash and AGL. You'd have to go see what Brodie says about AGL. With them being under Gateway's umbrella, I'm sure it involves the Devil's Lettuce. Following that, in no particular order, Nico LaCastro's Sacred Disc lineup got another putter approved. Exciting few. Kyle Klein looking to keep his options open, scoring a little too much pickleball gear, in my opinion. While Ricky shows me why I would love to sit at a poker table with him by showing me his favorite hand, I guess. Speaking of Rick, he posted his home on Airbnb, so any of you nerds who want to bathe in Ricky's pool water, book now. Cat Merch relives her childhood, rewatching The King of Friday Night at Freddy's, really goes and explains that darkness that's in her eyes. And that wraps up this week in disc golf. If you're attending the USWDGC, be on the lookout for the two of us. Come say what's up, as we always enjoy talking to fans. And if you've stayed this long, thank you and pat yourself on the back. If you aren't subscribed, make sure to do so. While you're at it, like, comment, and share. And if you want more, check out all the previous episodes and all the content we continue to pump out.